crypto itself is very cyclic. There's no real gradual growth. Everything's about to fall into pieces until it succeeds, like every other startup. So I would say Solflare has taken a sort of a similar path, but the only difference that we made is that we were increasingly active during the periods of bear markets and downtimes where we continuously doubled down on the tech and building features.
Vidor Gencel is co-founder of Solflare Wallet, one of the largest crypto wallets in the Solana ecosystem with millions of users and billions secured in assets. From staking and trading to powering payments on Solana Mobile's Seeker phone, Solflare is building self-custody for the next wave of adoption.
I feel like a lot of people just throw their money to a bank and say okay, we'll just let the bank handle it. I don't trust myself. How do you kind of empower users to believe in the power of self-custody?
User experience is a huge aspect of all of this. No one thinks they have a problem with custody or self-custody until they have.
Vidor, it's great to have you. To start off, I always like to ask my guests, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Web3?
Absolutely. Well, as probably a few others, I was lucky. I bought some Bitcoin very early on, and that overlapped with my formal education, where I was as a software engineer, always following newest trends. And crypto as a technology back then, almost 10 years ago, was very exciting to look at and start very early because there weren't any jumping hoops one needed to jump through. You could just basically take your keyboard and start developing. So I guess my actual Web3 career started around 10 years ago on Ethereum. And then since then, me and a very close group of friends that we've built businesses before together, started working on vastly different blockchain solutions. One led to another, the other led to the third one. And we ended up gathering and massing this very big technical experience about blockchain products. And we got this understanding of how different blockchains differ one from another. And that's where the story sort of gets interesting because before Solana mainnet late 2019, we basically looked at Solana. We started spinning up a few of our own validators, and it was interesting. It wasn't really anything like something we've seen before. So naturally, we started building stuff from it. And that's where we're now, 4 million active users later. We're now building Solflare.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, the 4 million active users. That's a lot for sure. But maybe thinking back to when Solflare launched back in 2021, right? What made you and your co-founders want to create this Solana focused wallet? Because you mentioned started with Bitcoin. You guys were looking at different chains and ecosystems, right? So why land on Solana?
Yeah. It's a really good question, and probably there are tons of sophisticated answers out there, but the best one that I can give is Solana just didn't have a wallet, and it was a very appealing tech and a very good blockchain. So before Solflare came out, the first version of Solflare came out in 2020. It was Solana's first wallet. Before that, you could only interface with Solana through a command line. And obviously no sane user would interact with a blockchain like that. So we built Solana's first web wallet. Later in 2021, we relaunched in the form of a browser extension. And in 2022, we pioneered with Solana's first mobile wallet.
Okay. And then in terms of Solflare, you talked about the 4 million regular users. It also has over 15 billion in assets managed across those wallets. Obviously, those are not small metrics, and that's something that a lot of teams would love to achieve one day, honestly, is millions of users and a lot or billions in dollar value on their, protocol chain, wallet, whatever it may be. What do you think kind of caused the Solflare entity to grow to these levels? Were there specific moments and times that you saw spikes? Or was it just kind of a gradual growth over the years?
So I think crypto itself is very cyclic, and there's no real gradual growth. Everything's about to fall into pieces until it succeeds, like every other startup. So I would say Solflare has taken a sort of a similar path, but the only difference that we made is that we were increasingly active during the periods of bear markets and downtimes where we continuously doubled down on the tech and building features, monitoring the market, building features that are fit for market dynamics at the time, and then when markets started picking up, it all sort of exponentially paid off. So we focused a lot on staking when the markets were not so alive, and it was sort of like passive income, people holding Sol. While when the last year's meme coin mania was in its peak, we focused a lot on the trading features and onboarding essentially. So I would say like figuring out what are the market trends, what's next for the market, and always being on top of your game.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because I feel like following the narratives and then providing features for wallets that align with those narratives are super important. I don't think that's necessarily true for every crypto business, although a lot of them do chase narratives. But like when you're providing essentially like this gateway for people to use and transact online, right? Or on chain, it's important to stay up with those trends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I think like 2-3 year roadmaps are all great, and we would all like to know what we will be building toward 3 years from now. But I think the reality of this industry, not only a line of products, is that these iterations need to be much faster, and the market doesn't forgive.
No, it's just not. That's very true. Wait, so then how long are the roadmaps for Solflare? Do you guys think like very near term, or do you also have like a long-term roadmap that you kind of adjust depending on, market conditions?
So we have a long-term vision and a mission that we build around. We are very firm believers in self-custody and in general democratizing finance, providing the best opportunities to our users. We think that self-custody is how the next wave of financial applications will pan out at the end of the day, and we're mostly building around that. Our roadmaps are sometimes a month, sometimes a few years, but I think mostly then was like an actionable roadmap. What's more important is the actual mission and vision. It's essentially empowering people to truly own in a self-custodial way and thrive.
You brought up self-custody in the beginning of that response and then also at the end. And I think that's something we've had guests talk about on the show before, but I don't know if everyone truly understand what does that mean? And in the context of like the average person outside of Web3, I feel like a lot of people just like throw their money to a bank and say like, okay, we'll just let the bank handle it. I don't trust myself. How do you kind of like empower users to believe in the power of self-custody with regards to Solflare and just like crypto wallets in general? Because obviously that ethos is very large in the crypto space, but outside of it, if I told someone like, hey, you have to monitor and make sure all your money is secure, I'm not sure they would all be on board with it.
Obviously, user experience is a huge aspect of all of this. And I maybe want to take a step back and say that no one thinks they have a problem with custody or self-custody until they have. And
Right.
maybe different parts of the population of first world countries are probably less exposed to these problems. But we have everyday users that tell us that our app is everything to them because it lets essentially hold their own money and not let their governments take it away from them. So a very interesting overlap between what financial freedom is for different audiences, different geographies, and what self-custody essentially is. To make it clear, maybe for the audience, so self-custody is when you are in like the final charge of your assets, and that no one can essentially take them away from you. And when you also go to, for example, I give this example a lot, when you go to Reddit, and if you try looking at some of these subreddits of some of the like neobank champions, most of those comment there is, oh, I got my account locked, oh, I got my account blocked, oh, my money is frozen for the next 3 months. And self-custody and in general crypto is something that massively reduces the possibility of this happening. And I don't want to say this in a sort of bad manner. I would say that all of these existing sort of neobank like offerings are trying to be very compliant end to end, while our industry, the self-custodial industry, is mostly compliant at the edges where when you on-ramp, off-ramp, there are touches with some like TradFi pieces that are obviously they need to do their KYCs and AMLs, but when you transact from within the system, it's very borderless cheap, and your money cannot get frozen essentially.
Do you find that it varies across like emerging markets versus established like Western countries and other areas, the adoption of the wallet and everything?
Yeah, and not only that the adoption varies, but the reason for which the wallet is used is vastly different. I mentioned that the concept of financial freedom. So when you sort of talk about financial freedom, to some financial freedom is being debt free. For others, it's just like just having passive income, and for some, being able to control their own assets without the possibility of them being taken away from them. And I do think like these three categories dictate a lot how our wallet is used across geographies. It's either like speculation, massive speculation. It's like maybe conservative investing, or maybe on the other side, just like receiving your salary and paying for stuff without, uh, you know,
Having to worry or something.
having to worry.
Yeah. Sorry, not to finish your sentence. You're the guest,
No,
not me.
that's exactly what I want to say.
Right, right. But when it comes to using or creating a good user experience, what are kind of the key elements you think are like paramount on that front?
So, from what we learned in building Solflare in all of these years is that tech doesn't solve everything, and we're not the smartest people in the room. We have a lot of users, and we talk with all of these users, and all of them are telling us what features that they want to have or what pain points are we solving. Not only that, but if we sort of take that one step forward, if you really think about it, like do any fintech neobanks have like a very passionate community and they go to their developers and say, "Oh, I want this feature built. Can you please build this for me? I will love this." Actually, no. So we leverage that to the maximum. Like we probably do hundreds and hundreds of user interviews, and we essentially provide all the like implement all the feedback that users are asking for. And this is something that we how we approach building Solflare. So it's mostly community
Hmm.
sourced. It also influences then how the app is designed. What are the features that are used very often? What are the features that are used for by power users? And we sort of adjust and try to build an app that's essentially suitable for everyone. Everyone might
Hmm.
be an overstatement in this case because crypto itself is still very niche, but the I would say more massive retail penetration I suspect is going to come soon enough.
How do you kind of think about the massive retail audience then? Because, like you said, right now it is a very Web3 centric audience, I would imagine, all the users. But when it comes to kind of expanding this beyond just the crypto sphere, the crypto bubble, whatever we want to call it, how do you see this like actually attracting everyday users?
So I think it's important to distinguish if we our positioning. So instead of us sort of fighting for every neobanks user to convert to Solflare, we are relying on something else. We're relying on the fact that a lot of new generation's wealth is stored in crypto, and we are building out a product that fits their needs and wants essentially. So we are seeing this happening all the time. A lot of young people have most of their net worth in crypto, and where are they storing it? In Solflare. What assets do they hold? They hold Sol, NFTs, they hold USDC. What happens with that USDC? So they're either going to go off ramp it into their sort of normal bank, or they're going to on ramp somewhere else. And we're thinking it from that context. So from the context of, okay, this is going to become your daily bank account, and it's going to become table stakes in the wallet space. Onboarding, spending, managing your assets securely, investing across the board.
Someone said to me that crypto wallets are just like a fancy way to say accounts. Do you agree with that?
An account is a very, I would say, complex term. I wouldn't say that the crypto wallet is a bank account. I would say it's maybe an aggregate of all of your bank accounts, brokerages, investment accounts, 401ks, and everything across the board. And you only need to have
Hmm.
one of those to interact with all of those, and not one each, right?
Right. And so do you see crypto wallets being that one account?
Yes.
Okay. By what time frame?
I mean, we are seeing it right now based on our users' behavior. People are staking, they're depositing USDC into lending platforms, generating yield, what they would do in their normal banks. They're paying for stuff within their communities with USDC and other stable coins. They're right now we had this implemented this feature for trading tokenized stocks. People are investing in stocks, US equities, and I might even be as bold to say that we're seeing it today.
Fair enough. And then when it comes to like user behavior, how has that really changed from previous market cycles? I know you mentioned early on, like staking was a big part of Solflare's kind of journey. But today, like where are you seeing the most traction for users? And then what do they really want to do?
At the end of 2024, when the meme coin mania was starting to slightly tone down, we've had this great, I would say, discovery, but mostly understanding of what was the residual that left after meme coin trading. And that's a lot of TVL and a lot of USDC held by our users. I think more than $7 billion in stable coins, I would need to double check the number, is held by Solflare users. But this was at the time. So what we're seeing right now is that like the magic internet money translated into something being like a more real equivalent to like this world's dollar, and then sort of by that line of thought, we're perceiving that a lot of like normal world financial flows would happen. It's not just like pure speculation. It's a lot of saving, a lot of sending, spending, and similar products.
This episode of Talking Tokens is brought to you by Fireblocks, the stablecoin infrastructure of choice for top global businesses from Visa and WorldPay to Bridge and Revolut. With over 100 billion in monthly stablecoin volume, Fireblocks powers stablecoin strategies at scale with infrastructure that enables PSPs, fintechs, remitters, and banks to issue, move, hold, and manage stablecoins. And it's all done securely at scale and with built-in compliance. With Fireblocks, you get complete control to build your own stablecoin orchestration layer, create payment accounts, manage liquidity, and access on and off ramps into over 60 currencies, making it easier to build, scale, and expand your stablecoin business globally. Learn more at fireblocks.com. Solflare is also integrated into Solana Mobile's Seeker device. We had Emmett from Solana Mobile come on the show. How did that relationship come about? And then we'll kind of go into like the technical parts of it all, but how did it even start?
So as for the Seeker partnership, that came after. First, the Saga phone came. Solflare developed its own version of the wallet for the Saga phone, and Solana Mobile had a lot of learnings on how that went, and they came out with a really cool concept, a new idea how wallets should function on the Seeker device. Essentially, it was like an RFP, so everyone was able to sort of put in their proposal and say how they would build it in collaboration with Solana Mobile. And I think we had a lot of conversation with Solana Mobile at the time, and they really liked Solflare as a product and believed that our tech can fuel the Seed Vault wallet, and that's how the partnership came about.
What was in the proposal? Anything specific you could share?
I don't think I can share anything specific from the proposal. I can just say that I wrote it and it was very long.
Okay, fair enough. Solflare powers the Seed Vault wallet on the Seeker device. And, you know, I think maybe before we get into that, you got to explain what Seed Vault wallet means in this context, and how it differs from, you know, other crypto wallets, if at all, or is it just like a new title that is integrated into the Seeker device?
So essentially, you have a phone, which is a piece of hardware. The piece of hardware has some fancy chips inside of them. And those chips have some very specific cryptography related modules inside of them. So for those like cryptography enabled modules to be exposed to the phone, there needs to be one piece of software that sits within the operating system of the phone. And this is something called the Seed Vault. This is something that the Solana Mobile team built. And that Seed Vault has a direct integration with the Seed Vault wallet. So essentially, when you click send on your Seeker phone, when it prompts you for your fingerprint, that fingerprint sends essentially like a secure message to the whole stack and essentially digitally signing a transaction using the lowest level chip inside of the phone. So it's like a really complex, I would say, sandwich of hardware and software where we built the wallet, the Solana team built the sort of the secure element and everything below it.
And how do you kind of balance, the tech and security of all this, but also with like ease of use, design, etc., both for the seed vault wallet and Solflare as a whole?
Yeah, so I would say it's different because it boils down to the difference where the actual keys of your wallet stored. In the Seeker wallet, these keys are stored in the secure chip. And you probably, I think Emmett mentioned this on the previous episode, where their pitch was that they wanted to have an Apple Pay-like experience. So you double tap the button, you put in your fingerprint or Face ID, and the transaction is signed. So for this seamless integration, there needs to be also a very seamless integration between the Seed Vault wallet and the Seed Vault. This requires like special permission sets and essentially like a very complex technical integration. For Solflare, we have sort of we treat it in two different ways. One are the hot wallets, where all the recovery phrases and private key material are stored in the phone's secure storages. So Android, Apple, they all have their own variants of secure storages that are either encrypted at rest and unencrypted either by using biometric tools, by your face, fingerprint, or a PIN code. And since we're very passionate about self-custody and practicing self-custody, Solflare has extensive support for hardware wallets. So we support Ledger, we support Keystone, and if you count the Seeker and the Solana Saga phone, I also consider them being hardware wallets to some extent. We also support those.
And then how do you kind of compare Solflare to competitors out there?
I'm obviously very biased.
Of
And
course.
I always like saying what our users say in this regard, and usually say that they like the performance, they like the simplicity, and they like the Solana only focus. The Solana only focus is something that we didn't do accidentally because we just didn't get to implement other chains. We did it very deliberately by doubling down on Solana and by figuring out that we want to do one thing really well. And we sort of bet on this fact where we assume that a lot of these financial products, instruments, opportunities at the end of the day are going to be present on Solana. I think we're seeing that pan out today, and then without the added complexity of other blockchains or other integrations, we can have a much smoother and even more performant wallet experience.
So no expansion beyond Solana then.
That's a very, very sneaky way to ask a question. So I think our doubling down on Solana was based on the motivation that all the opportunities for earning, storing, saving are going to be on Solana. Right now, today they are. But I think if we try to think long term about this, I think thinking of this in a sort of very tribal context of which blockchain is better might not be good. It's not going to be about tribalism. It's about which financial product is able to solve your problem that you have today. So if it means multi-chain, then yes, great. Although I personally don't think that might be the full answer to that question. If it's something else, we'll probably see.
What do you think is the edge right now within like the Solana ecosystem? Like where are users really finding traction and action? And then also like for Solflare, what are you doubling down on?
I think to both your questions, I have a relatively same answer. And there's nothing like the community that Solana had that was forced back at its lowest points in 2023. So the community that was there and that stayed there continued building tech, continued building products, continued creating not only technology itself, but also culture, NFTs, meme coins, and I probably remember the famous Bonk airdrop, is something
Hmm.
that Solana has that not many other blockchains have. Other blockchains right now, I would say have maybe just a pure financial uh, motivation for people to sort of be there. Solana would say have has a much more emotional and community related um, angle there. For Solflare is the same. I think building out a wallet and innovating and building out new features, we're constantly working on that. But at some point, tech will become being a differentiator because it's going to be very easy to replicate. What's important in this context is trust, community, brand, and that's how we are looking at it. We have a very vibrant community. Ambassadors and guardians. They're very active on Twitter, Discord, and they're those groups that are in a non-financial way incentivized. I mean, they're not financially incentivized at all. That are here every day, supporting the product, using the product, providing the feedback. And those groups essentially will grow Solflare. We're seeing that every day. They're onboarding other people. They're bringing in new people. They're showing the power of self-custody, new features, how you can sort of deposit your USDC and save in a better rate than in your everyday bank. We're seeing that every day.
Are there any like specific stories or things that you guys tried launching that didn't succeed? I say this because like Solflare has done well, right? But there's probably things you guys have tested along the way that just were a miss. And I think it's good for other people to learn from these lessons and be like, oh, okay, like not everything is just like always up only. There's like moments where, we try things out and it doesn't actually get the traction we thought it would.
Maybe a big one, and I'm gonna say it. Those are limit orders. Uh, we thought that like limit orders are game changing because we always think, okay, I have this asset, I want to sell it when it reaches this specific point, and we just didn't see limit order converting to the extent that we hoped that they will. So that's for example, that's one example. Uh, I can probably think about a few more, but right now I'm drawing a blank.
For sure. Okay. And when was that, the limit order kind of experiment or implementation?
Maybe around a year ago.
Okay. That's interesting. What about on like the perps front? Do you guys see a lot of traction there too?
Perps are very interesting. Um, and I do have my very, very strong opinions on perps. Um, so when you go to a casino and when you sort of play slots, there's like mandated between 95 and 98 return rate. So for every $100 you put in, you get 95 and 98 back. And in perps, you put in $100, you're most likely to be wiped out and get to zero. Which when you think about it, is this the opportunity that we want to give our users? Is this the financial freedom we want to enable them? And is this something that we see our users thriving by sort of wiping themselves out? I would say no. And
Right.
perps, I would say, are in general like a very sophisticated financial instrument, and the knowledge barrier to sort of not get very hurt is very high, and we tend to be very cautious about this with our users. You probably, I mean, across Twitter blog posts, you can see all these amazing stats of trading volumes, but if you try to look deeper, all of these trading volumes on these big platforms are done by a few thousand users. And when you think
Hmm.
about it, okay, but we have a few million. How does this make any sense? That can only tell us one thing, and essentially that these are super advanced traders that don't know that they're doing that, whose day job is to wipe people out, right?
Right.
So that's my take on perps. I don't think Solflare will have perps in a way that's not very well explained and framed for the user, and essentially minimize the risk of us losing that user, and even worse, that user losing their money.
That's actually a really good point because I feel like a lot of times people don't realize that like if someone gets burned, the odds of them coming back, hopefully, and like genuinely, hopefully, is lower because like they don't want to get hurt over and over again. And if they do come back, there's something there where it's like, okay, it's like you kind of have problems, right? Where it's like you continue to get hurt over and over, even though you kind of know the outcome. To your example about the perps and the casino and everything, right? So I'd imagine with Solflare, you guys are trying to create like an experience that is a positive one, even if, the options that are out there might not always necessarily produce a positive outcome.
You framed it great.
I mean, on the meme coin front too, though, it kind of makes me think about like there's so many meme coins out there, and like maybe the mania around that has like, fallen off a tiny bit or a fair amount. But you guys also don't control like what meme coins people buy or what's available to them, right? And what's available. Obviously, what they buy is like totally up to them. But is there any like kind of safeguarding done on Solflare to make sure that like, hey, you're buying something with like very low liquidity, or this is a rugged project, proceed with like caution, or no, you kind of just like let them go crazy?
We don't let them go crazy, and our product team was very passionate about implementing these guardrails. We have a ton of them, from volume to data provided by this company called RugCheck. They essentially tell us like what's the concentration, can this token be minted, burned. We also have a very different mechanism for providing and showing what are the verified, what are the unverified tokens with specific liquidity thresholds and a bunch of other guardrails. I mean, if we were to remove all of them and remove 2 clicks from the swapping experience, we could have probably made 2 or 3 times more money, but we would end up with a lot of pissed users, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have about 4 million active users. What's kind of the goal? What's the number you guys want to hit?
So I think our long-term goal is for Solflare to become the next generation of financial products, very aspirationally encompassing the whole world's wealth in a way that is very sort of safe and secure. If we are thinking about some sort of more short-term goals, I think going back to what we talked initially, it's just like being ready what the next wave of trends is going to be. And for us, we see that being a lot of tied with stable coins. So providing a lot of those rails and being ready for mass retail stablecoin usage on Solflare.
Yeah, when it comes to stablecoins, what are you kind of seeing on that front? Are you seeing a lot of people transferring funds to stablecoins or using them in general, not even like buying assets? Because like historically, I used to view stablecoins as like a safe haven kind of to get away from market volatility, but now they're being used for a lot more than that. What are you seeing on Solflare?
So we've identified that there are a lot of, I would say, dormant stable coins, because they are stable coins that are just sitting there. And it's just like money in your like checking account, not gathering any interest. So that money should be there sort of put to work. And we have this awesome integration on our web wallet with Lulo, which you can just like one-click deposit your stables and earn a yield. Or another thing that we are releasing in the imminent future, and that is Solflare USDC settled self-custodial debit cards. Why I mentioned self-custodial? Because the actual tokens, like the actual USDC, stays in your wallet right until the last moment when you swipe your debit card on a POS terminal. What does this actually mean? This means that there's no more of those platforms where you top up and then the platform goes down and your money is locked for 3 years or whatever years. It stays in your wallet.
Yeah, that's great. And is that live now?
It's going to be live in the imminent future.
All right, fair enough. Last major question is, what is something else that you're watching right now that you think others should pay attention to as well?
I'm very excited by the technical advancements that Solana has undergone in the past 2 years. I would say that very rarely do we see so massive production systems undergo so significant technical change. We've seen Solana deal with outages, with priority fees, with increasing bandwidth, reducing latency. All of the roadmap is sort of very actionable and very on point. And this just makes me super bullish that Solana is going to be cheaper, faster, and that other chains have less and less chance to actually try and compete, even if they're funded with some of the biggest fintechs around.
Okay, interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Lastly, can you leave us with a piece of advice, something that you've carried with you throughout your time in this space?
Hold strong, don't sell.
Okay, simple, easy, love it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Awesome, Jacqueline. Thanks for having me.